daughters, sisters, and wives. He says they're gonna change our lives. Be women, be girls. They'll make a better world. Invest in her. Invest in her. Invest in her. And now here's your host, Catherine Gray.
Welcome to this week's episode of Invest in Her. I'm your host, Catherine Gray, the founder of She Angel Investors and the co-founder of the She Angels Foundation, both designed to help fund women. I have on a great guest today. We are talking about Equal Pay Day, which is today, the day that we're launching this video. And I am so glad to have with us the movie director and writer of the Lilly Ledbetter movie. We're going to be talking about how and when that's coming out and all about that story that is so significant as we talk about Equal Pay Day. Please give a warm welcome to director and writer Rachel Feldman. Hi, Rachel. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for including me and inviting me. I'm delighted to be here with you. Thank you.
Well, today's this day to have you on, that's for sure. And, no matter what day anybody's listening to this, Equal Pay Day is really every day. We want equal pay, right? So this is about the inefficiencies of gender in the pay world, how underfunded women are, how underpaid they are. We still get 81 cents to every dollar that men get. So it means we're working a lot of free hours, right?
That's right. And it's worse for women of color.
Yes. So let's talk about a little bit about you, because everybody likes to get to know, well, who is this writer director and why is she on this mission to help change the world? And then we're going to talk about the movie and the very exciting news of who's been cast in the movie, when it'll be coming out, how important it is. A little bit about you. You were born in New York, right?
That's right, the Bronx.
In the Bronx. Awesome. And I read that you were the first girl in the first generation of Americans in your family.
Well, my parents were, I'm second generation. My parents were born first, but in I'm second generation, yes.
First girl in the second generation. Okay.
Yes.
And where's your family from?
From New York. My grandparents were all from Russia. And the environs, who knows what exact country they were at that particular moment. But my grandparents were from Odessa, so they came over without speaking any English, but they were socially active. And before they could really even speak English, they were involved in labor unions and labor rights, and very politically involved, and then became very involved in the civil rights movement. And so I come from a family that has justice, very firmly planted in our DNA.
I love that. I had a feeling that was, perpetuated by your background and your family. I too am a big proponent of the underdog. So I saw we have that in common, and something that we've both been working on all of our lives. And I love that we have that same vision, especially when it comes to women, because we are the underdog and we are the underpaid. And how are we going to fix that? And it's movies like you're working on that are going to do that. Being a woman director, writer in Hollywood is not easy. So I know you haven't had an easy road. You graduated, I saw, from NYU Film School, one of the best film schools in the country, of course, in the world. And your first directing job I saw was Doogie Howser.
That's right.
Yeah, that's great. That's wonderful that producer gave you that opportunity, right?
It was. I mean, it was at least 12 years between graduating film school and getting that first job.
Wow.
And it doesn't sound like a lot of years now that we are who we are and we're adults, but when you're a young filmmaker or a young anybody and you have climbed the ladder in the way that you're supposed to do. I was an assistant, I was a storyboard artist, I went to film school, I made a graduate thesis film, I won awards, I got grants, I made more short films. I did everything that I possibly could. And then when I was no longer a student, but I was out in the marketplace, I saw that girl directors were just not getting hired. And so it took a good 12 years until I did get hired professionally. I mean, in that time, I continued to write, I continued to make short films, I continued to work for other directors, but I wasn't a for hire director, hired through the Directors Guild, paid a fair wage until many years later. And then even after I received that amazing opportunity and went on to direct Picket Fences and other very, very high quality shows, at that point, which was the mid 90s, every job was as difficult to get as the first. And so while fair pay and Lilly Ledbetter and women striving to get an equal amount of money as men in jobs where they are working in tandem side by side, for me and for my fellow sisters in the cinematic arts, the problem for us was just exclusion. We weren't not getting paid a fair wage. We weren't getting hired.
Right.
And so, it's the same, but it's different.
And yet I want to say kudos to you. You've worked on over 75 TV and movie projects. So, you are a trailblazing woman in this arena and have done more than most, even with all those obstacles. So really, anybody who's overcome all those obstacles and done that many projects, I really applaud you.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but just to put it in a little perspective, the guys that I graduated from film school with, who started out at the same time and who have been in it as long as I have, yes, I have my 70 or so credits, but they have, 300 and 400 credits and have been directing television and features and pilots and show running and producing and directing. And, yes, thank you very much. You're right. I have, and I'm very grateful for my career, but it has been a tough slog in a way that it hasn't been for my male counterparts.
Right. And you're saying like you've done a lot for a woman, but not in comparison to the opportunities that men have had.
Yes.
But you certainly have trailblazed a path for the women coming behind you. And, I love that you have worked in so many aspects of the business. I think that's what makes a great writer director, that, we were just talking about, you did the voiceover for Lucy on Peanuts, and also, not only a writer, but an actress, and done so many things in that field to make you a better writer and director. And I just want to mention some of the amazing shows you've worked on that people would recognize: The Rookie, Blue Bloods, Criminal Minds, The Baxters, just a variety. And is there some specific genre that's your favorite?
That's an interesting question. Is there a genre that's my favorite? I would say, look, I'm a dramatic director. I don't do ha-ha comedy. I don't do jokes. Everything for me comes out of character. So whether if the character is an antagonist, has a problem, and it becomes a thriller or a suspense piece, of course, that's very delicious to jump into genre work, to do thrillers and suspense and even horror, which I've done. I love dark material. But then again, a wonderful family drama with great characters where there's conflict within the relationships. As a director, it's a visual medium. And the beauty is that we get to work with actors and performance and story and pictures.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say any story that allowed me to invest all of those elements together is a genre that I enjoy working in.
Which then would explain why you are so excited to have written and you're going to be directing the Lilly Ledbetter movie, Lilly the Movie. People can see details about this at lilythemovie.com. Correct?
Lilymovie.com.
A lot of people, especially young people, may not know who Lilly Ledbetter is. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that and why this is such an important story, especially on Equal Pay Day.
Right.
So for those that don't know, this was the first piece of legislation that Obama signed, the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act. And this was back in, was it 2009, right?
Yes.
2009. And what did it mean? And why was she fighting for this? And so the movie basically is about how this woman was moved up the ranks at Goodyear Tire and was in management and whatnot, and came to find out that her male counterparts were getting paid a lot more money than her, much more pension benefits and everything. And it ended up at the Supreme Court. And so the fact of the matter is that even though she won and she won millions of dollars, they fought it, appealed it, as most big companies will. You just can't fight corporate America. They have such deep pockets. And she never did see the money that she deserved for fighting this, but it made inroads by creating these laws. And so tell us a little bit about your movie. What is it about her struggle and why this is so important and how this new law has impacted the situation and where we stand now. So let's talk about all of that.
Oh, that's a lot. That's a
I
lot.
know.
A lot of questions. Let me talk about the film first, because I know more about the film than I do about the politics. What motivated me to want to make a movie about Lilly was, of course, that there was this everyday citizen, factory worker, who took it upon herself to fight against these monolithic patriarchal structures, right? And she was relentless in her pursuit of justice, even though it had huge cost to her personally and to her family.
Mhm.
And so I saw her as a real shero, and I saw her story of tenacity and discipline and belief in herself and belief in what was right. And her ability to just keep picking herself up no matter how many times she was beat down, as something that was an important message for women and men, for everyone all over the world. If you've been, othered by anything or anyone in any aspect of your life, her message is an important message for you. So while on the surface, the politics and the laws of what Lilly accomplished are the architecture upon which my movie sits, what's more important for me as a filmmaker is telling a story, a personal story, an emotional story, a psychological story of a woman who was capable of withstanding all of this tremendous pressure and prevailing for herself, even though she failed in the end in terms of getting the money that she was deserved. She saw in the end, she came full circle and really became transformed into the woman that she'd always dreamed she could be as a little girl growing up on a dirt farm, having nothing, being told she was worthless. She became a woman who was full of value and had come into herself. So that was a story that I wanted to tell. And really, as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, it's my job to know a good story when I see one. And her story sort of hit the hallmarks of narrative goldmine, So I just knew it was going to make a great film. And I believed, and I do believe, that I'm the filmmaker to tell that story, because I do feel it so personally and so with such compassion.
Well, you and I agree on one thing, and that is that film and television is what changes culture. Once you educate people about something, they can't say they don't know. And I feel like this is a really important film to educate people of every age and every ethnicity out there that does not know this story and does not understand really how imperfect the system still is, how much less women get paid. We still got to be sounding that horn and letting people know not only that it exists, but that it's not okay. And how are we going to change it? And we need more women decision makers in the companies, because that will impact it, no doubt. But to educate people through this film is very important. And like you said, her story is amazing. As a filmmaker, I can see why you want to get behind this film. It's a story that I really can't believe hasn't been told. So I'm really thrilled that you're doing that. And I know you're fundraising for this film. For those that want to visit rachelfeldman.com or Lilly Movie, Lilly, LillyMovie.com.
Yep, you got it.
That they could reach out to you and be a part of raising money for this film, and be, if you really are interested in making change and you feel passionate about it and you want to invest in a movie, this would be the one to do it.
And we're taking investment as well as nonprofit contributions as well, which is an interesting
Fantastic.
to structure films. So you can come into the project either way. It's interesting what I've learned. I'm a writer and a director primarily. I'm producing this film. This is really the first film that I've been very much part of producing. It's been on my shoulder, and I've been shepherding this single-handedly for a long time. And now I have a wonderful team and amazing partners who have successfully produced many, many films, including the Chicago 7, which is nominated for 6 Academy Awards right now. But what's interesting to me is how our entire industry is set up against women, and not just women directors or women writers, but actors, and how foreign sales, and how you cast these things, and how you structure these things, and how they're financed. There are so many chits against female filmmakers and female storytellers that we felt that we were obligated to raise the money independently and make this film independently, because the industry's just, there are too many obstacles for women, and we want this film to live and breathe.
Yeah. And, like I said, this feels like an Aaron Brockovich type of movie. It's like a story that needs to be told. And I love who you've cast. I feel like it's the perfect person to play the role, which is Patricia Clarkson. And very excited that you've just signed her. She'll do a phenomenal job. So I agree with you. It takes a team of people around it that are the producers, the fundraisers, and everybody else that's really passionate about the film to make a really great film. And it sounds like you really have aligned the perfect team of people that all really feel so impassioned about it. So I applaud you, and I think it's going to be a great project. I can't wait to see it. Do you have a timeline of when people could expect to see it?
We are hoping to shoot this fall. A lot of that will depend upon whether we can build our budget. We're doing very well. We've raised quite a bit of money, but we have more to raise. We'd like to shoot it this fall, which means that it would be available for sale or film festivals or broadcast second quarter, third quarter of 22. But one of the things that I'd really like to say, you said Aaron Brockovich, is, often in the olden days when you had a social action film, a socially relevant film, often those would become documentaries, or they would become sort of biopics, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not interested in making a biopic. I'm not interested in making another movie about a great lady who did a great thing. Those are wonderful. I love them. That's not what I'm interested in doing. You asked me before about genre. I'm really more of a genre filmmaker, and this film to me is a political thriller. There were so many obstacles, so many antagonists. People tried to kill her. Her life was in danger. Just standing up for what she needed to stand up. And there were so many levels. It started with the rednecks, and then the bureaucrats, and then Congress, and then big money, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I'm out to make a popcorn movie. I know we will affect hearts and minds because it's such a great movie, but I'm out to make a popcorn movie where you are entertained and you are sitting on the edge of your seat. And it is filled with both suspense and heartbreak. There's a beautiful love story at the center of the film between Lilly and her husband, Charles, as well as euphoria. And I hope and I believe that people will leave the theater with tears in their eyes and hope in their heart for a better day for women.
Yeah, I mean, because what she's done is something that a story that needs to be told. And I can't imagine the struggle. One thing that comes to mind, just that more movies are coming out like this, is the Billie Holiday versus the US movie. And so I think, hopefully as more women are the decision makers in Hollywood, more movies about courageous women will be coming out and being greenlighted. It's time. And this movie is very timely. And I think anyone listening that's in the industry that can help move it forward needs to reach out to you at lilymovie.com or rachelfeldman.com. I, for one, am a big cheerleader of your project. I'm so glad that we're talking about it on Equal Pay Day. I want to remind our listeners that we still get 81 cents to every dollar that men do. And that's got to stop, and that's got to change. And I do believe it's movies like this that'll help move the needle.
Thank you. Absolutely. Yeah, and the statistics are worse as you go from Black women to Latino
Yes.
women to Native American women. The,
Yeah.
the numbers get worse and worse. They go down into the 60s. I mean, there's like a 40% disparity between what white men earn and what Native American women earn
Yeah. And let's just say for the same jobs.
for the exact same job.
Yeah. Let's be clear on that. Well, thank you so much for the work you're doing. And how can people follow you all on social media?
Yeah, I also want to say one other thing. We're going to have an impact campaign that's going to accompany the film. So the film as an entertainment is not a standalone. We're building a very powerful impact campaign that will commence before the release of the film and will live on long after. And we're already involved with the National Women's Law Center and the Gina Davis Institute for Media, so many organizations that are coming on, philanthropies, corporations that are investing in workplace safety for women. So the film will be one aspect of it. The impact campaign will be another. I am on Twitter at Women Call Action. I would love anyone to follow me. That would be delightful. As you've said, we do have a website, www.Lilly with 2 L's movie.com, where our producer's information is there and anyone can reach out to him. And I have a website if anyone is interested in me as a writer director, which is rachelfeldman.com, as you say. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing the vision of this movie. Can't wait for it to come out. Please, again, look up lilymovie.com and rachelfeldman.com. Remember, everybody, to also follow She Angel Investors. We are so happy to have you join us this week and every week. And remember to invest in her. All right. Make it a great week. Thank you so much, Rachel. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Our theme music was created and produced by Lindsay Tomasic.